Jae Edwards, Fry Training. Thanks for joining me today. I'm here to talk to you about supplementation. Supplementation for me, I'm going to show you a few things that I've used before and some of my athletes I prescribe to them with the help of nutritionists to use. This is probably the most important supplementation for me. I remember when I was doing the commando course, I had one of the corporals said to me that, you know, if you're going to supplement, you need cod liver oil, and that stuck with me forever through. This one is by 7 C's. Cod liver oil not only supports the heart function, supports the brain function, this supports the endocrine system. This is a whey protein by Optimum Nutrition. Not that I'm sponsored by them or anything, but whey protein is probably the first point where you want to start in terms of supplementation. It's protein within a powder form, and this one in particular is a whey isolate. Therefore, it's a lot more protein in terms of carb ratio. There isn't much carbs and there isn't much fats. It's more about the protein. In this one in particular, it has amino acids like BCAAs added and a bit of L-glutamine. I won't go too much in depth, but protein, a good source for you because it gets into the blood in about 40 minutes after you've taken it, whereas red meat can take up to 12 hours, chicken you're talking about 6 hours, and fish about 3 hours. So in terms of getting protein into the blood quite quickly, whey protein is probably your best bet. We'll then go on to the creatine. I have a creatine monohydrate here. This is one by Reflex. For guys out there who are trying to gain size in the off season, or you're just trying to gain mass for whatever reason it's your goal, possibly having a whey protein or a protein such as True Mass from BSN or Cirrus Mass, which has carbohydrates involved, will assist you to reach your daily macros, but that's another topic. This creatine monohydrate will help to increase your strength and increase size. Creatine's powder form, and you just mix it in some water. What creatine does, it helps with the energy system, creatine phosphates, in order to optimize the energy pathway that you could possibly lift more from doing that. And also it retains water, which will help you to look bigger, because after all your muscles are majority water. Your whole body is made up of majority water. Secondly, we'll move on to BCAAs, branch chain amino acids. There we go. These two different BCAAs I have here. They're both branch chain amino acids, which essentially is 3 amino acids. And leucine is probably the most important out of the 3. And the reason why I have 2 with me today, this one is a 4:1:1 ratio. That's leucine in comparison to the other amino acids used in terms of ratio. And this one is 1:1:1. 3 ones. So the research does state that the BCAAs coming in a higher proportion of leucine is actually more beneficial for you, but I won't go into that in too much detail. But this can help you with size, this can help you with recovery, particularly in a fasted state. So if you're training and trying to optimize your anabolic hormone spike at the end of your anaerobic training. So if you've been lifting heavy and you want to utilize that sort of window you have after training, where your HGH, your anabolic hormones in particular are particularly high, you can use this to help you from having a catabolic effect on your muscles and then breaking down to be used as an energy source. But that happens way after once glycogen is depleted. But BCAAs, micronutrients, I often prescribed for some athletes with the help of nutritionists, of course, because everyone's basal metabolic rate is different. Everyone's whole coenzymes, how they digest aminos, how they use aminos, works so much. It's so different across board. So I have the help of medical doctors at times and nutritionists from blood sampling to get people's supplementation correct, because after all, I'm not a nutritionist. I am a strength and conditioning coach. However, I utilize these people's help in order to go there. So the micronutrients, zinc. We have zinc and we have magnesium. You find this in athletes, they tend to be normally deficient in these two micronutrients, and often suggest for them to take it. I have taken it, and also along with this vitamin D. So vitamin D, zinc and magnesium. These micronutrients, what they do, they can help with the secretion of certain anabolic hormones, in particular testosterone. Personally speaking, I, from over years, have sort of cut down on the sort of supplementation I've used and increased whole foods and a holistic approach. Using stuff from a natural source to get my supplementation, the added bonus to my staple diet. So I tend to use a lot of pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, a lot of sunflower seeds with almonds, and blend this all together in order to get a high protein, high fat ratio into my blood. And I find this works very well for me. You probably can't see that naturally, it's quite far away, it's very small. This is Peruvian Maca. Maca is it's grown on the ground, it's from Peru. Maca is grown in other countries as well, but it's very good. It has a very high protein content, so it's good for recovery. It also has very good aphrodisiac properties as well. It helps with the production of certain hormones, or anabolic hormones again. And I've had people who've had even thyroid issues when it comes onto weights and all this kind of stuff, which I won't go into now. It can be very helpful for them. But I use it post-recovery. Maca, this is a powder form, but it comes from a root from Peru, and I find it particularly very, very good. This is, don't know if you can see that one again, that's wheatgrass. This is in the powder form. If you can get it in, wheatgrass in your back garden, or if you grow it indoors, that's even better. But this in the powder form, not so bad. Reason why I use this, it helps with recovery as well. So better recovery, I can train harder the next day. Wheatgrass, in terms of its pH properties, it's very alkaline. So what will that means in your body? You have three major pH levels: the pH of your saliva in your mouth, the pH of your stomach, and the pH of your blood. Let's talk about the pH in your stomach for a minute. If you consume a lot of proteins throughout the day, the body then the stomach in particular, pH becomes very acidic in order to digest these foods, help with the digestion in particular. So if you're consuming red meat, your pH levels can come down to about 3 or even 2 in order to help with the digestion. And after consuming so much protein throughout the day, your body, your stomach needs to come back to quite a close neutral, or just a slightly acidic form. And I find this, because it's so alkaline, it relaxes the stomach in that respect and bring the pH level back into neutral, or close enough within the regions that it needs to be. Yeah, we have this is glucosamine and creatine. This is a supplementation that I use for joints. Not to say if you are doing your exercise incorrectly, so when you're talking about biomechanics, or you're going into how you're doing the exercises, this isn't going to correct that. That needs to be looked at properly by someone who knows what they're doing. However, if you're doing your stuff properly and you're going in intensely and doing heavy stuff, 90% to 100%, one repetition max, you probably develop joint pains, and this stuff isn't so bad. Creatine, it helps with the inflammation, and it helps with the pains in the joints. And normally glucosamine creatine comes with MSM, another added, but in this one there isn't any MSM, but it's just as good, I find personally, for myself. And I always use this when I going into a periodization point where I'm using heavy weights, particularly a lot of squatting and that kind of stuff. I find my knees tend to get a bit painful when I do go severely heavy and deep. If you have any questions on the topic that you'd like more explanation in, drop a comment in the box. Do subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of stuff coming out quite soon. Thank you for joining Jae Edwards Sprite Train.